All right, everyone, buckle up because today's deep dive is taking us underground, way underground.
No sunlight, no wide open spaces. We're talking about life in a real-life underground city.
And you know what? This isn't some dystopian future we're imagining. This is the real deal.
This is Mr. Beast sending a group of YouTubers into a 1,000-year-old mine turned living space for a week.
Yeah, a whole week, 400 feet below the surface in these massive caverns, endless tunnels.
It's like something straight out of a movie, except it's real.
In the video, it's called 7 Days Exploring an Underground City. It's got us thinking.
What would it actually be like to live in a place like that?
Right. Like, could we handle it? What are the challenges? Would there even be any perks to living underground?
Well, that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to unpack all of that and more.
Exactly. We're going to uncover some pretty surprising insights about what it means to be human down to our core.
One thing that really struck me was how this whole setup really forces us to think about what's actually essential for living.
Okay, yeah, explain that.
Well, we have this idea of what we need, right? Sunshine, fresh air, space to move around.
All that good stuff.
Exactly. But what this experiment, in a way, shows us is how much of that is actually about our environment, shaping our needs. These YouTubers weren't just visiting. They had to figure out how to adapt to make a life down there.
And did they ever adapt? Like, they had to get creative.
Absolutely.
They rigged up these pulley systems just to haul supplies, created a whole makeshift shower out of a water jug.
Can you imagine?
Talk about ingenuity, right? And get this, they even turned one of those huge caverns into a make-do soccer field.
You know, that right there, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It highlights how incredibly adaptable we are as humans.
I see it, yeah.
No matter how extreme the conditions, we find a way. We find a way to not just survive, but actually thrive.
That's true, we do.
And you know, it's interesting, it actually has a history of being a refuge. Back during World War II, people used it to escape.
Whoa, seriously. So this place has, like, layers of history.
Yeah.
Underground history. That's wild.
Right. It's incredible to think about the people who sought shelter in those tunnels.
I know, the resilience, just incredible. The stories those tunnels could tell, wow.
And here we are, all these years later, and we see those same instincts, that same drive, playing out, this time with YouTubers, making the best of a very unique situation.
Totally. The soccer field, it just proves your point. Even in this bizarre environment, they were looking for a way to feel normal, you know?
Exactly. A way to connect, to have fun, to create a sense of community.
It's honestly making me think, like, how would I react? Would I be freaking out or would I embrace it, you know?
I think about that too. It's a natural question.
Would I let the lack of sunlight, the being underground, get to me? Or could I find those moments of joy, just like they did?
That's the beauty of this deep dive. It's not just a story about what happened. It's a mirror. It makes us look inward and examine our own capacity for resilience, for adaptation, for finding joy in unexpected places.
Okay, so we've talked about adapting and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
what about just being down there? Like, wouldn't it feel, I don't know, kind of weird?
It really makes you think about how much we rely on our senses and the environment, right?
Yeah, like no sunlight, no open spaces, just rock and darkness all the time.
Exactly. It's a completely different sensory experience, and that can have a big psychological impact.
So like, what kind of impact are we talking about? Does it mess with your head?
Well, for one thing, think about how we experience time. We're so used to the cycles of day and night, right?
Yeah, sunrise, sunset, all that.
But imagine living in this kind of perpetual twilight. How does that change your perception of time?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's trippy to think about.
Some studies even suggest it can mess with your sleep, make you feel like time is passing differently.
Whoa, really? It's like being in a different dimension almost,
Yeah,
cut up from the outside world.
in a way, yeah. And speaking of cutoff, did you see that part with the metal door?
Oh, yeah. The one that said access forbidden. Talk about creepy, right?
Totally. But it also taps into something really fundamental about us, don't you think?
What do you mean?
That curiosity, that urge to explore the unknown, even when it's literally behind a warning sign.
True, true. We can't resist a good mystery. And you know what, Mr. Beast? He knows that.
Oh, for sure.
So, of course, they had to open that door.
Of course.
And what do they find? This tiny little chamber, and bam, right in the middle, a giant cross.
I mean, it's such a powerful image, right? The symbol of faith and hope in the depths of this dark, underground world.
Yeah, it kind of gives you chills.
It speaks to that human need for meaning-making, even in the most unexpected places, especially in environments that can feel isolating or even a little scary.
Makes you think about the history of this place too, right?
Totally.
It was a refuge during the war, people facing fear and uncertainty every day.
Right. It's no wonder they might have sought comfort in those symbols of hope, and it's fascinating to see those echoes today.
It's like no matter how much time passes, some things, they just stay relevant, you know?
Exactly. They connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the exploration doesn't stop there. They kept going deeper and deeper into those tunnels.
Right. And it seemed like they hit a dead end.
I thought so too. But oh man, that's classic Mr. Beast. Always a twist.
Always.
It wasn't a dead end. It was a hidden passage that led to another tunnel, an even bigger one.
And they just had to find out where it went.
Had to. And guess what was at the end of that tunnel?
I don't know what.
A Zaxby's. A whole Zaxby's.
You're kidding. Only Mr. Beast would think of that.
Right. I mean, what are the chances? It's hilarious, but it also kind of makes sense, you know?
How do you mean?
Well, think about it. You're stuck in this dark, weird place living on, like, energy bars and stuff.
Right, right.
And then, bam, you find a fully stocked Zaxby's. It's like this little slice of normalcy in this completely crazy situation.
It's true. We crave those familiar things, those little comforts, even when everything else feels strange and unknown.
Totally. It's like finding an oasis in the middle of a desert. Makes you question if it's all real for a second.
And I think that's a big part of what makes this whole thing so compelling. It challenges our ideas of what's normal, what's possible.
It does. It really does.
And it reminds us that sometimes reality is a lot stranger and a lot more surprising than anything we could imagine.
So we've talked about all the crazy stuff down there, the challenges, the surprises.
But can we talk about that moment they come back up?
Oh, you mean like back to the surface?
Yeah, after a week underground, they emerge and bam, sunlight, fresh air. What do you think that's like?
Oh, man, I bet it's intense. Like total sensory overload, right?
Right. Imagine after all that time in the dark, in the quiet, suddenly everything's brighter, louder.
Yeah, the colors must seem like super vivid.
Exactly. And those everyday sounds, birds chirping, traffic, they probably sound deafening.
Wow. You know, it's got to make you appreciate things, though,
Yeah.
right? Like just how amazing it is to be above ground.
Absolutely. In fact, there's research on this. Sensory deprivation, even for short periods, it can actually make you more aware of your surroundings, more grateful for the natural world.
Really? So, like, it's like hitting the reset button on your senses.
Exactly. You're seeing everything with fresh eyes.
Wow. So, in a way, this whole crazy Mr. Beast experiment, it's almost like, I don't know, a path to a deeper appreciation for life.
I think so, yeah. It makes you think, what if we all took a break from all the noise, all the stimulation we're bombarded with every day?
Right.
What if we all had a little taste of that sensory deprivation? Would we appreciate the world around us more? I think we would.
That's deep, man. Pretty profound stuff coming out of a Mr. Beast video.
Right. But that's the thing about these deep dives, isn't it?
What do you mean?
We go in expecting one thing, pure entertainment maybe, but then we come out with something more. New insights, new perspectives.
Totally. Like with this one, we learned about what human adaptability, the power of community, and how important perspective is.
Exactly. It's a journey of discovery every time. We explore these unusual situations, these unexpected challenges.
And we learn something about ourselves along the way.
We do. So here's the question we'll leave you with. Would you trade a week of comfort and familiarity?
Like our comfy lives up here.
Exactly. Would you trade it for a chance to see the world and yourself in a whole new light? Would you take the plunge, go underground, and see what you discover?
Man, that's a good one. That's something to think about. Until next time, everybody, keep exploring, and you never know what you might find.